you taking me to this rather remote and slightly scary landscape?
To overcome your fears, silly.
I'm just warning you right now, it's about to get weird. And dark. Real dark. Anyways, Mrs. Puff, if that is her real name. Oh my god, why am I yellow? Better? Better? Mrs. Puff is murderous, not to be trusted, crazy, and not Mrs. Puff. Now what the heck am I talking about? What do you mean, murderous? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's do shoutouts. So, like I said in my last video, if you were to comment what I said at the end of the video, which was, "Oh Disney," you are more likely to get a shoutout. So here we go. Dusk Var High 2024, Sharon Haynes 1260, Crystal Edits 230, Michelangelo 5887, It's Cam Maddie 013, Ringleader, Marcy Roblox _edit 6657, and Adi Chaubi 9725. Thank you all so freaking much for watching my video, supporting me, and watching all the way to the end of the video. It's actually quite surprising how many of you have actually commented that down, so thank you all very much. If you didn't get a shout out in this video, I'll make sure to give you another word during this video. If you comment that in the comment section, you'll be more likely to get a shout out. So let's just start the video. So Mrs. Puff is murderous. Mrs. Puff is insane? Mrs. Puff is not Mrs. Puff? What? It all started whenever I saw a TikTok video that wasn't on TikTok because I don't have TikTok, but an Instagram video about Mrs. Puff and a theory revolving around Mrs. Puff. It goes like this. Mrs. Puff stole somebody's identity. Mrs. Puff is not Mrs. Puff. How do we know this? Well, in one episode, she says this.
Everyone will know that I let him slide through school. I'll have to move to a new city, start a new boarding school with a new name.
Which leads to this.
No, not again.
And you may think that's just like a throwaway gag, but no, it's not. It's actually like heavily implied that she has stolen someone else's identity. She is not Mrs. Puff. The creators of the show clearly want to display this in their episodes. In another episode, in a pile of junk that she has, we also see this newspaper.
I hope I still remember how to do this.
And in another clip of an episode, we see this.
Local consensus places the blame on this negligent, selfish driving instructor who...
So this is what we've gathered from that. She used to live somewhere else. She used to be a boating instructor as she is right now, and she used to teach children as well. She gave up on a child, gave them their license, and then they destroyed the city, I think. Or was that SpongeBob? Yes, both of them did. And because of this, she went to jail, or they were trying to get her to go to jail, but she managed to escape, and now from there, she lived a life of robbery. She started robbing banks and doing this and that, and she was just basically a criminal. And after that, she stole someone's identity. She lived as Mrs. Puff. After learning about this whole stolen identity of Mrs. Puff, allegedly, I mean, it's a theory, but it's a very well constructed theory. I started going down this rabbit hole of her past life, and man, this lady, Mrs. Puff, or whoever this is, lived a tragic life. I mean, all of that, what I've just mentioned, is just the tippity top of the iceberg. There's more under it. A lot of darker things. Despite losing her passion, they took away her boating school, they took away her license to actually instruct, they put her in jail. She had to make a living through robbing banks. Besides all of that, she didn't have a family. According to the Wikipedia, she's actually alone. She doesn't have a family. And Mr. Puff, her husband, well, they said this in one episode.
Scrumptious, curvy cutie.
She's single.
Then what happened to Mr. Puff?
Yikes, her husband was taken and murdered and converted into a lamp. Imagine how traumatic that would be.
She doesn't like to talk about it.
So she's been in and out of jail her whole life basically, and she has gone insane multiple times, not to mention the amount of PTSD she has because of SpongeBob. She has to deal with him constantly, and she doesn't want to. SpongeBob makes her life, her terrible life, even more terrible.
SpongeBob, I'll get you for this!
Yikes. But don't start to feel too bad for her because, oh my god, this video is going to take a turn and this is going to ruin your childhood. So if you want to keep watching this video, that was your warning. After researching her life, essentially, I decided to do some research on pufferfish because I know for a fact that the creator of the show was a I don't know, he studied the sea or something. Sea animals, I don't know, something. They know a lot about like sea creatures and stuff like that. So they have a lot of like little cool little fun facts in there. After researching just a tiny bit of pufferfish, because that's what Mrs. Puff is, some little cool facts here and there, like dolphins use them to get high, or they're like the most poisonous animal in the sea. You know, cool little facts like that. I came upon this. I came upon the diet of these fish. And they're omnivores, so they eat both plants and meat. But the meat that they eat is quite interesting to me. They eat snails, sea sponges, and crustaceans. Meaning, her pet snail, SpongeBob, and Mr. Krabs, her boyfriend, are in grave danger. Doesn't that raise an eyebrow? Exhibit A. Let's start off with the snail. So in episodes prior to her having a snail, she's had the snail for like years and years since she was a child apparently, but Squidward also had that snail and he had the papers to prove that that snail was his.
She even has her own papers. So if you'll excuse us...
And it's the exact same snail. That leads me to believe that she stole that snail. She didn't have it since a child. She could be a pathological liar for all we know, after all of these crazy stuff that she's dealt with.
The warden says she'll let you go early if you do her a favor.
And all of the insanity that she is. Maybe you stole that snail, and maybe it was for a reason. Maybe you don't actually love that snail, as you lead on to believe. Maybe you did, but your nature took hold of you, and then you felt bad and framed the snail on your wall. Which is creepy. I am pretty sure that snail is now in her stomach. I'm pretty sure that snail is not alive. And I don't think we ever see that snail ever again, unless we do. And if we do, she probably ate it afterwards. Exhibit B, SpongeBob. SpongeBob is a lovable yet annoying character to many of the characters in SpongeBob.
431st We Hate SpongeBob Club.
And one could say, if it is in their nature to eat sea sponges, one wouldn't feel bad about eating SpongeBob specifically. Mrs. Puff eats SpongeBob. Even though SpongeBob is alive throughout the whole series, she actually eats him in one episode.
I'm famished!
He's clearly in the shape of a sponge. She absolutely goes wild.
Where are you going with my dinner?
And eats him. Even though everybody is telling her not to. And then after eating SpongeBob, she says,
That was delicious.
Yeah. Exhibit C, Mr. Krabs. Now, there are many theories revolving around Mr. Krabs, and one of them, before I say that, he's literally her boyfriend, and she eats crabs. There's one theory surrounding Mr. Krabs that is quite... The first time I heard about it, I was like, no. But it's probably true. What is the secret ingredient to the Krabby Patties? Who knows? But some people think it's actually crab meat. Although he's not the only crab in Bikini Bottom as many claim in this theory, he is pretty much the only one in his area, kind of ish. We don't really see any other crabs besides him, you know? Where are they? Where did they go? Why aren't there many in Bikini Bottom? Well, because Mr. Krab is also murderous. Oh, perfect match for Mrs. Puff. He kidnaps crabs and cooks them alive, maybe, who knows, and puts them in his Krabby Patties to make them taste delicious. And you may be thinking, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. Keep in mind that the Krusty Krab is actually in the shape of a crab trap. And not only that, but in one episode, Mr. Krabs literally says,
So that's what I taste like.
yeah. So believe it or not, but I think it's true. So what does this mean? If this is true and Mrs. Puff is his girlfriend and she eats crabs, I mean, no wonder she likes Krabby Patties, right? I mean, everybody likes Krabby Patties, but her especially. And oh my god, Mr. Krabs is literally murdering crabs for her. They build an awesome team. Why do you think they're so great for each other? Mr. Krabs is lonely and needs a wife, needs a partner, and Mrs. Puff needs to eat. And they have a deal. She won't eat Mr. Krabs as long as Mr. Krabs is always there to feed her. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. If you've made it to the end of this video, comment down secret formula, and you may get a shout out in the next video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that ruined your childhood. Actually, I hope it didn't, but I don't know how it couldn't. So I hope you took it well. And I'll see you next week. I love you all.